expert advice. Today we have with us Paresh Karia. He's currently Director of Easy to Own Estate and he's been a real estate expert for years now. Let's welcome our very special guest. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you.
First of all, I would like to ask you, the year 2014 has passed by. But if you see, for the real estate industry, it was a year of ups and downs. There were so many changes happening. There were so many things happening for the real estate industry as a whole. So if I ask you to sum up, what would be your response?
The year 2014, I would say, has been a mixed bag for as far as the real estate industry is concerned. If you see, on one hand, we had the sales which continued to remain sluggish. There was very slow uptake and inventories continued to pile up. In fact, in the areas like NCR and Mumbai, we had seen that there was unsold stock for as much as 3 years and even more. And builders were continuing to offer discounts as well as more attractive schemes in order to get the sales moving. And we had seen a plethora of schemes, 20/80 schemes, 10 to 15, 75, this kind of schemes, which were really keeping the momentum going to some extent. And we had also seen that the new launches which were happening now currently are at a lower price than the earlier launches. So these are the two things which actually kept the sales going in the year 2014. On the other hand, we saw that, on the policy front, we had a new government with absolute majority. And as we all know, that the government had in its manifesto promised housing for all by 2022, and it had also promised 100 new cities. So, in keeping with its election manifesto, the government has been seriously pursuing its objective, and they have made a number of announcements in the budget which should give a major fillip to the real estate sector in the days to come. So 2015, we are starting on a very optimistic notes, and we are expecting a lot of action, a lot of activity, at least as far as the real estate industry is concerned.
Yeah, exactly. We need a little bit of hope, for the entire real estate industry as well as the consumers. A little bit of optimism is required. 2014 has been passed by, but then, there are so many decisions taken in 2014 which are here to stay. Now, one of the decisions or one of the concepts that was being thought of in 2014 was affordable housing. So, in this year, 2015, how do you think, we can expect of affordable housing?
Well, affordable housing will remain a focus area of the new government. Like we mentioned earlier, government has promised housing for all by 2022. Although it looks very ambitious, but nevertheless a good beginning has been made on this front. As we know that there is a shortage of 25 million houses in our country today, and the government is working seriously towards it. There was some major announcement made on the affordable housing, which will benefit the affordable housing industry as a whole. As we have seen that the government has liberalized the FDI norms for the real estate sector, particularly for affordable housing sector. Now, any project in which 30% of the project cost is devoted to affordable housing is completely exempt from any FDI cap. So there is no minimum requirement of capital or size. And another important measure announced by the government was exempting the long-term bonds placed by the bank from the CRR requirement if this money is used for financing affordable housing. So we can see financing available for affordable housing at subsidized rate from the bank. The other problem now that we see on affordable housing is availability of credit for the property buyer. Now, typically, if you see people who are buying affordable housing are in the lower income group, typically from 50,000 to 20,000, from 5,000 to 20,000 per month. Now, those people are mainly engaged in unorganized sector, so they do not have access to credit available, through the normal housing loans companies or the banks, which have stringent credit rating criteria and down payment terms as well as eligibility criteria. So we need to address this concern. The government has allocated 4,000 crores towards NHB.
So could you tell me what is NHB?
NHB is the National Housing Bank. It is the apex authority which regulates housing finance companies in the country. And it is an institution through which the government also regulates the flow of credit for housing finance to the end users. So while 4,000 crores in itself is not a very big amount considering the overall requirement, but nevertheless a beginning has been made, and this amount can be utilized by NHB to pass on subsidies to the affordable housing buyers for taking loan, as well as it can also be used for giving credit guarantee.
Okay. So if I ask you one policy or one decision making that that was taken in 2014, that could be a game changer for affordable housing in 2015.
I think the liberalization of FDI will definitely be a game changer as far as affordable housing is concerned.
Okay.
And as we know that the government has liberalized the norms, it has reduced the size of investment from $10 million to $5 million. Also the project size, which was earlier 50,000 square meters, has now been reduced to 20,000 square meters. And all those restrictions will further not apply to affordable housing projects. So in affordable housing project, anybody, any foreign investor can come in and invest any amount of money, any size of project. So this is an important factor which is going to change the affordable housing. The second important measurement by the government is recent amendment to the Land Acquisition Bill, to the Land Acquisition Act, where the government has through an ordinance proposed a change.
So in all, if you see the relaxation of FDI norms, that will be beneficial for the consumers also, as well as the foreign companies investing in India, and it's a boost for housing as well as construction sector.
Yes, absolutely. While these measures have been announced, I don't see that there will be immediate rush of flow of funds into this sector. The foreign investors are also waiting and watching and seeing how things are unfolding. And definitely, at least for the affordable housing purpose, we'll see the money trickling in now, and which will ultimately turn into a big flow in the days to come.
So in the year 2015, do you think, is it, what kind of contribution 2015 will give towards this goal?
Well, in 2015, like we said, affordable housing will continue to be a focus area. The government will, government has already announced a series of measures. We will see a complete transition as far as affordable housing is concerned. We will see large players, corporate players like Mahindras, Tatas, etc. They are already into affordable housing, and there will be a big push to this sector. Affordable housing per se will become like a manufacturing industry, and housing will become more of a product.
Okay.
Until now, it was more of an investment. The developers were playing more on investing in land and holding on and capitalizing on appreciation in price of the land. But now the affordable housing players will focus on a faster turnaround. They will want to produce the houses as soon as possible and turn them around and increase their sales. So we'll see new technologies also coming in the affordable housing segment. We will see more, like I said, JVs happening with foreign investors happening on the affordable housing segment. We will see liberalized credit being available. We will see housing finance companies coming up to cater particularly. There are already a few companies in the housing finance sector, but we will see more companies, housing finance companies, coming in to cater to the requirement of this particular sector.
Friends, it's time for a break. We'll be right back to you. Just be with us. 2014 also saw developments in private equities. Could you just elaborate on that?
Yeah, 2014 we saw private equity inflow of almost $1.84 billion compared to about $1.28 billion last year.
Okay.
And most of this equity flow was coming mainly into commercial real estate. We saw some large ticket deals by Blackstone and other private equity players into commercial segment, particularly in Bangalore. So what was unique about this deals was most of them were structured debt deals. Now, in this year, we will see the private equity inflow increasing into our country. There will be more private equity players, there will be newer private equity players coming in, and we'll also see them increasing their risk appetite and going in for an equity.
Okay.
Yes, we'll also see more private equity coming into residential sector, particularly affordable housing.
Oh. That sounds really great. And there were also announcement of REITs in India. The concept is not being, put into practice in India, but there are plans, that they'll have REITs, as per a regular practice from the year 2015. So your stance on the same?
Yeah, we have been talking about REITs in our country for quite some time. There were some regulatory hurdles because of which they have not been launched. Now, fortunately, clarifications have come in from SEBI, and SEBI has allowed listing of our REITs. However, things are still not very clear as far as the taxation is concerned, and the players, REIT players are still awaiting more clarifications from the government to come in. Nevertheless, we will see that this year, this particular year, may see the first REITs getting launched getting listed in our country. Probably we could see a large player, commercial player like DLF, which has a huge commercial property, bank, or someone like a Prestige or a Raheja in Mumbai coming out with the first REITs. Or it could be someone, a private equity player like Blackstone, which has a huge portfolio of commercial properties acquired over the last few years, listing this portfolio. But I don't think there is much for a retail investor in the REITs as far as REITs is concerned. It will be more of a game for large developers or larger foreign institutional investors.
Okay, so there was another policy change in the year 2014, which is considered to be very important, and that was the amendment to the land acquisition law. So how do you think this would impact the real estate sector?
Well, as you know that the Land Acquisition Act was introduced by the previous government, and it was meant to provide fair compensation to the farmers whose land was going to be acquired. There were some restrictive conditions in that particular act which would make acquisition of land extremely difficult. For instance, you required a consent of 70 to 80% of the landowners, and you also had to do social impact assessment. Now, because of this, it has become virtually extremely difficult to acquire property for any large project, whether it is acquired by the government or whether it is by the private sector. So, as we know, recently the government has passed an ordinance to amend this land or this restrictive clause in the Land Acquisition Act. It has now been proposed that the consent will not be mandatory for defense, rural infrastructure, affordable housing, and industrial corridors, and a few other segments which are important for the national interest. Such projects of national interest. For land acquisition for such projects, the consent will not be necessary, and also social impact assessment will not be necessary. So this will make it easy for acquiring lands for the ambitious projects of the government, like the special investment regions, the industrial corridors, the smart cities, and affordable housing.
Okay, so there was another announcement, that was the real estate regulator in Maharashtra. Could you just speak on that?
Yeah. Well, the real estate regulator in Maharashtra, the act was passed by the previous government, but it has not been notified as yet. And I don't see much action happening on that, at least in the immediate future. Probably the Maharashtra government is waiting for the central government to pass the Central Real Estate Regulator Act, and then it will follow.
So when can we expect?
I don't think it will happen in 2015.
Oh, okay. Okay, in the year 2014, we heard a lot about smart cities. Now, in your language, what is a smart city?
Well, smart city, we have seen that it was again one of the items on BJP's manifesto. And the current government seems to be serious about pursuing it. It has already allocated 7,000 crores in the budget towards a smart city. While the amount is not enough, at least a good beginning has been made. Let us try to understand what is a smart city. Smart city is something which everything which a modern day city should be. It is a well-planned city with defined zones for residential, commercial, infrastructure, educational institutions, etc. And it is a city which will make extensive use of technology, particularly digital technology, to achieve objective of efficient utilization of resources, and also providing quality life to its residents. It will have good infrastructure, road transport, regulated traffic, waste disposal system, etc. And it will also be something which will conserve resources, that will use alternative energy, power, recycle of waste, etc. to conserve, protect the environment and conserve the resources. So broadly, this is a concept of a smart city.
Okay, so according to you, when would the concept of smart city materialize actually?
Well, smart city creating a smart easy is a mammoth task, and obviously it is going to take time. We're not going to see any new smart city coming up in the next 1 or 2 years.
Oh.
It's obviously going to take time. But what is heartening to note is that the action on this front has already begun. The government plans to have 2 smart cities in each state, and also there will be 7 cities which are planned across the Delhi-Mumbai industrial corridor.
Okay.
And we'll see in the year to come, we'll see the tendering for the cities will already start. Some of the cities which can be identified are, Gift City near Ahmedabad. We are talking about Varanasi being one of the smart cities. Recently, when the Prime Minister visited Japan, they had entered into some kind of a memorandum with the Japanese government for promoting Varanasi as a smart city. We could also see progressive states like Andhra Pradesh, where Mr. Chandrababu Naidu is known for developing great infrastructure.
Yeah.
So we could see smart cities coming up in Vijayawada, Guntur, Visakhapatnam, etc.
Okay, so a metro city, like a city like Mumbai, Chennai, Delhi, are they different from smart cities, the proposed smart cities?
Well, with the metro cities like Mumbai, Chennai, etc., as we all know, these are old cities. And to lay down infrastructure over here right from the beginning is going to be very difficult. If it is a new city, then it can be well planned, it can be well organized. The infrastructure network can be well laid out if it is a new city. For existing cities of a size of Mumbai or Chennai to turn into smart city will really take a lot of time.
In the year 2050, could we see a little bit development for smart cities?
Yeah, definitely. We'll see some kind of an action. We may not see actual, construction work or something like that, but we will see some kind of a policy announcement. We'll see some kind of a financial closures. We'll see some kind of a tendering, and all this process. The initial groundwork will definitely happen in the year 2050.
Okay. In the year 2014, we also heard a lot about DMIC. Now, could you please elaborate on that?
Well, DMIC, as we know, stands for Delhi-Mumbai Industrial Corridor. It's a very ambitious plan, and it was actually set up by the previous government way back in 2007. But there was very little which the previous government had done on this front. Now with the new government in place, they have revived the DMIC plan, and they're pursuing it with a vigor. And this is going to be one of the biggest and the most important project of this government.
It's time for a break. Don't go away. We'll be right back to you. So the year 2014 also witnessed, about DMIC. It was spoken a lot. So could you please, tell our viewers what exactly is DMIC?
DMIC stands for Delhi-Mumbai Industrial Corridor. This is one of the most ambitious projects which was initiated by the earlier government way back in 2007.
Okay.
However, as we all know, there was very little done on this front. It's heartening to note that the new government has revived this project and is pursuing it with vigor. DMIC is so huge. The first phase of itself is going to involve investment of $100 billion US dollars. Well, the project envisages setting up a freight corridor right from Delhi to Mumbai. It will be passing on through 6 states, which is Haryana, UP, Rajasthan, Gujarat, Maharashtra and MP. So it also envisages setting up of smart cities along the entire corridor. And there will be special investment regions which will be set up along this corridor. Few of the corridors have, actions has already been initiated in Dholera. The Dholera Special Investment Region we have seen is located close to Ahmedabad, and over here the action has already started. The government has already started acquiring land. Also, there are talks about having another special investment region in Shendre, Bidkin in Maharashtra near Aurangabad. So, another thing which is going to help this industrial corridor is the recent amendment to the the Land Acquisition Act, which will make acquisition of land easier for the corridor.
Okay. So what if DMIC becomes a reality? How would it impact the entire real estate sector?
Well, if DMIC becomes a reality, then it is likely to change the face of the country. It will result into creations of hundreds of thousands of jobs. It will add substantially to the GDP, and there is going to be a huge benefit to the real estate sector as a whole. As we know that the freight corridor is going to pass through 7 states. So we'll see smart cities coming up in 7 states. We'll see special investment regions coming up along this corridor. We'll see all the spaces will require, all the industrial activity will require industrial estates. It will require commercial space, office space. If employment is going to be created, we'll see demand for housing coming up along this sector. We'll see townships, etc., particularly affordable housing townships coming up in this sector. So I see a huge opportunity for real estate players if this becomes a reality.
So 2014 was the year when we saw a lot of infrastructural developments, specifically in a city like Mumbai. We saw a lot of infrastructure taking place in the entire year. So let's talk about the infrastructural development in Mumbai and how did they impact the real estate sector.
2014 has been a landmark year as far as completion of the infrastructure projects in Mumbai is concerned. The long pending metro began from the first metro line in Mumbai from Warsaw to Kharkov became fully operational. This led to a substantial increase in prices along the metro line, particularly the area in Andheri East. We saw and Kharkov, we saw the prices appreciating. The prices in Kharkov were, before the metro started 3-4 years back, were in the range of 8,000 to 9,000 per square feet, which has now gone up to 15,000 and even beyond. We saw major residential areas emerging along Andheri East, which was traditionally mostly an industrial area. We have seen the new projects being announced and getting initiated over there. So metro has really transformed life as far as this east-west connectivity Warsaw to Kharkov is concerned. Another significant development on the infrastructure front has been the Santapur-Chembur Link Road. This has been long pending and got finally completed in the year 2014. And we have seen that this connects the eastern part of the city with the western part, and you can reach the western part, the BKC, from the eastern side in about 10-15 minutes. So this has really improved the east-west connectivity further. Next significant development has been the Eastern Freeway, which again connects the eastern suburbs to South Mumbai, and you can reach from Chembur to Vadala, from Chembur and Vadala to South Mumbai in just about 20 minutes. So all these projects have generated, most of both these projects, Santapur-Chembur Link Road and Eastern Freeway, have given a fillip to the eastern suburbs, and we have seen air prices in areas like Vadala and Chembur going up substantially. So any infrastructure development in future will have a similar impact in the days to come. We have seen in 2015 we should expect the third line of metro. The work on that has already commenced. The tendering is going on, and with this third line of metro, which will connect Kolaba to Seeps via BKC. And this is likely to be completed in the next 4 to 5 years, as per the initial estimate. And once this line becomes operational, we'll see more demand coming up along this area. Particularly, we'll see areas like BKC, where there is other development taking place, like flyovers and connected etc. happening in Bandra East, which will decongest the area around BKC and improve the connectivity over there.
So we spoke a lot about infrastructural developments, policies, reforms, that happened in 2014. Now the year 2015 has come, and we could see a lot of, we could witness a lot of policy making, decision making happening from the beginning of the year. And it is expected that economy is going to boost. Everything, everything has been spoken about a lot. Now, keeping in mind the economy in 2015, how do you foresee the economy in this year, keeping in mind the real estate sector?
Yeah, as we know, 2014 has not been very good for the economy. The economic growth continued to remain subdued, and global economy was also on a slowdown. But one good thing which happened in 2014 was the fall in the oil prices. We have seen the oil prices now coming down to almost $50 a barrel, which was unbelievable, a few years back. So because of which the inflation is likely to come down, and we are expecting the interest rates to come down in the days to come. And once that happens, we'll see the economy picking up. We will see more demand coming for housing loans also. Also, there is an important thing that we'll notice in the days to come is that government is likely to boost its spending. in order to give a push to the economy. We will see some big investments taking place which will help the government to bridge its fiscal deficit. Thereafter, we will see government increasing its spending, particularly on the large infrastructure projects, which will again give a big boost to the economy and lead to job creation. Although investments from the private sector, on the side will take some time to come, but we expect government expenditure to happen in a big way, and we can look for some positive announcements on this front in the forthcoming budget. This will also lead to an increase on the consumption by the retail, consumers.
Okay, so in all, 2015, it's going to be a really good year for the real estate sector, specifically the real estate players as well as the consumers.
Yes, you are right. As far as the activity is concerned, there will be more activity, there will be more action, there will be, more policy announcements, which will benefit the sector per se. It will benefit both the developers as well as the property buyers.
Okay, so it was a pleasure to have you here. Thank you so much for coming on our show. So we spoke with Paresh Karia of Easy to Own Estate, who spoke a lot about the year 2014 and gave us a little hope about the year 2015. You stay tuned to us for many expert advices and many expert solutions. You keep watching Spin TV. Goodbye. Take care.